Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. Brought to you by American Security, your home's ultimate security.
Good morning, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News Now, coming to you from our digital desk. It is Thursday, and that means it's time for another edition of Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. Every week, Cleveland 19 works with Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County to feature 3 fugitives. They could possibly be on our street. They are facing very serious charges. We need them off the street and into a courtroom so they can answer those charges in front of a judge. We're going to welcome back Red Dyer from the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department after a brief absence. Detective Dyer, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Dan. How about yourself?
Not too shabby. It's great to have you back, sir. We have a never-ending supply of fugitives, it appears, here in Cuyahoga County, so let's continue our program. Let's get right away to our first case, Brittany Jones. What do we know about Brittany Jones?
Well, what we know, Dan, is that Miss Jones is wanted with our Sheriff's Department for failing to appear for an arraignment. And for those of you at home who aren't familiar, that is when a judge will be assigned and a bond will be set. The original incident took place in July of this year at an apartment complex on Euclid Avenue. A party was taking place, a fight had broken out, and people began spilling into the streets. Miss Jones was with a group of co-defendants that robbed 2 females victims at gunpoint and threatened to shoot them and stole their vehicle. The victims ran after their vehicle in an attempt to catch it, and Miss Jones allegedly pointed the gun at one of the victims a second time. Very dangerous behavior. She's approximately 5'2" and 132 pounds and was last known to be staying in the 16,000 block of Lakeshore Boulevard in Cleveland.
Again, anytime you point a weapon at an individual, especially when it's a gun, it is going to bring you charges. That's why there is a robbery charge ×2. She's facing 2 counts of robbery with firearm specifications. Red, let's get to our second case today. Patricia Kilbane, what do we know?
Well, what we know about Miss Kilbane is she's wanted for a felony case out of Cuyahoga County for failing to appear at trial. This case stems from May of 2021, when reports state that Patricia, while under the influence of cocaine and fentanyl, assaulted an elderly victim by knocking them to the ground and punching them. She continued to be combative with the police officers as well when they arrived and responded to the scene. She's approximately 5'3" and 141 pounds and was last known to be staying in the 14,200 block of Gramerton Avenue of Cleveland.
All crimes are terrible, but when we hear they are crimes against either children or the elderly, that puts it at a whole nother level, and we need to get Miss Kilbane off the street. Red, we have, I think I'm okay in saying this, our first repeat customer. This next case is a man who was featured in our very first Cuyahoga's Most Wanted back in November of 2022, caught, faced charges, and has since been back on the street and back at it, doing what he apparently does best. Let's get to the case of Charles Hudson.
Well, Dan, much like you said, like me with my newborn infant baby boy, crime sometimes does not sleep. Mr. Charles Hudson is actually wanted for 4 felony cases out of Cuyahoga County. He was featured on the first segment, as you said, of Cuyahoga's Most Wanted in November of 2022. He's failed to register his address with the Sheriff's Department and has even committed several other crimes, which has resulted in additional warrants for his arrest. He has prior violent felony arrests for domestic violence, assault, heroin trafficking. We're talking dangerous drugs on our streets, Dan, in addition to sex offenses in 2009 from Medina County. Charles has multiple other warrants for his arrest as well, from Parma and Fairlawn for criminal trespass and Summit County for theft. He's approximately 5'9" and 190 pounds and was last known to be staying in the 6800 block of Fullerton Ave in Cleveland.
And that sex offense in the Hudson case was just a 15-year-old girl. It was the victim in that case. It goes without saying, a second time featured on Cuyahoga's Most Wanted, has been brought in and now facing even more charges. This is an individual who does not need to be on our streets right now. Let's get him back into a courtroom to face charges yet again. Red, we want people to feel comfortable when they make this call to Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County. We don't want people to fear that phrase, snitches get stitches. Why should they not fear that in this case?
Well, Dan, it should be noted that we don't record phone calls. We don't take your name or your phone number. Everything that all communications we have through you are referenced through an anonymous tip number, so no personal information is exchanged. So you have no fear of giving us any information that may help to lead to the arrest of one of these violent individuals.
And that's what I love about this program, Red. People see the number on the screen, 216-252-CRIME. It's actually 216-25-CRIME, so 216-252-7463. You get that tip number. And that tip number allows you to call back in down the road. Maybe you know where Charles Hudson is. Maybe he's staying with a family member, hiding out. Maybe he goes to a bar in your neighborhood, and you want to get our streets safer. You make that call. They don't take your name down. They don't record the call. They give you that tip number, a reference number. You call back in about 45 days. You give them your reference number, and if it was your tip that led to the arrest of Charles Hudson, you could be eligible for up to a $5,000 reward. Money is a big motivator, and if you're watching this on social media, share this live view so that other people see this. Maybe other people in your friends section on Facebook or other social media pages will see this and recognize someone, and they too could be eligible for that reward. Red, when we start talking about a reward, what do we like people to know?
That crime doesn't pay, Dan, but Crime Stoppers does.
Absolutely, up to a $5,000 reward. Detective Red Dyer with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, it is great to have you back. Congratulations on the birth of your baby boy there, sir. Good congratulations to you and your family. We appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, take care, Red. Just another edition of Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. We are operating on about a 58% capture rate. 58% of the individuals that have been featured on Cuyahoga County have either turned themselves in, that's smart, gotten tips called in on them and picked up by the warrant unit, or they've been arrested, perhaps committing other crimes. That's an impressive number, 58%. That's going to wrap it up for us. If we have any other breaking news, it'll be right here on our digital platforms. I'll be anchoring our 11 o'clock news coming up on CW43, so we hope to see you there. Until then, I'm Dan DeRosa with 19 News Now. Have a great afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media at Cleveland 19 News.